Hey, what is up everyone and welcome back to the Animus, and today we are going to be reviewing the Tengu Judge Yoshitsune. Let's get right to it. I would like to give a huge shout out to Gundam Central Shop. This is where I get all of my third-party model kits. They have been a huge supporter to the channel, so if you are looking into getting your own third-party model kits, I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description. I want to start by talking about the tools that I use for this build. So for this build, I did use my two sets of nippers. So we could go ahead and do the first cut and second cut. I did use a part separator here. Next tool I used was my hobby knife. The hobby knife I used to like shave excess plastic or anything like that that showed up while I was building the kit. I used my razor. So next thing I used was my tweezers. And the last thing that is optional but not super highly recommended is the quick setting cement. Now we're going to talk about the decals itself for the actual model. And it does bring some nice looking water slide decals. I am still debating on whether or not I am going to put these on the model itself or paint the model, considering that I do have some repairs to do to my specific model itself. It does bring a metallic sheet of decals. Now I'm going to be completely honest with you, they are not the greatest. They're not the greatest. They might fall off, eventually. So you might want to try and seal them in there with something. Aside from that, if you are going to use these water slide decals, please make sure to use the right solutions. I had someone ask me about the solutions that I might use for my water slide decals. If you do need some information on how to apply them, just make sure to check out one of my tutorials on my channel. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be spare and additional parts. So as you can see here, you do have some additional parts. First part being a piece for the back of the head in case you don't want to use the flared up hair there. You do have this quick attachment, which is for one of the clear effect parts in case you want to use it in the katana. You have two additional face masks in case you do not want to use the Tengu one. I don't know why you would want to use one of these when you can use the Tengu one, but to each their own. You also have an extra headpiece for the front of the head, because if you are going to change the face mask on it, you needed to change the headpiece as well, so it brings one for you, as well as an additional face or chin part, which is actually very convenient because you can actually just set one up ahead of time and then just switch them back and forth. Next, we're going to talk about the hand options that the kit brings itself. So you do have one set of open palm hands. Now these hands are actually preset in there with a moving thumb. I actually like this one because it's very sturdy, and that's a plus that I could really give the kit itself. So next up we have some signs, some hand signs on here. So this is really cool because if you can actually get the model kit to set them together, you can actually set them to where they're actually over each other when you do the hand sign, which is actually pretty nice. But myself, I just like them separate. I think it was a really good addition to the kit. I just wish that this ball joint here would actually hold on a little bit better and the wrist had a little bit more articulation when you were posing the kit. The next thing that we have are some weapon grabbing hands as well. Now these you do have to be very careful when you are inserting the weapon in there. And I say that because I stressed one of them out. Now, I'm not sure which one it is, but if you can see, the peg itself actually comes out of the fingers, and that can be stressed if you're not careful putting the weapon in. Next one you have here, we do have some closed fist hands with opposable thumbs, so that way you can go ahead and move the thumb however you want to pose the hand. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and talk about the weapons of the kit and the accessories. Now, one thing that I do want to mention about this model is that it only brings 3 weapons, aside from the actual hand guards that it brings as well. Here you have a spear. You have a spear slash priest staff. So I really liked the mechanic on this and the actual details on this with the gold. However, I do want to say that if you are looking into getting this kit, you might want to paint this because this gold doesn't really look that good. It looks a little plasticky to me. And one thing that I do want to mention, because I promise that I always keep my stuff honest with you guys, is that this will mark. This will mark when you are cutting it. So you have to be very careful when you are cutting it. And even if you are as careful as I was, doing 2 cuts and using my glass file, it will still mark and it'll be really noticeable. But this is a nice weapon, and the kit did hold it without any issues, because the weight distribution was actually pretty good. Next thing I want to talk about is going to be the katana. So the katana comes in its own sheath. As you can see, the actual blade is metallic color. It's a metallic silver there. And one thing that I did want to talk about is that this sword actually does have 2 modes. So if you go ahead and take out the blade and you insert the additional part that is added with the model itself, you can also use one of the effect parts from the kit and make it into a beam saber. Aside from that, the katana is really light, very detailed, very nice in case you want to panel line it, and it does fit snug in its sheath. And the sheath, as you can see, it does have a slot in there, so you can go ahead and look at the katana. Now the next is going to be, to me, it's going to be probably one of my favorite looking weapons out of all the weapons that this kit brings, and it's the fan itself. Now this fan does have a few gimmicks. It does have posing gimmicks, like in case you are like swiping it or anything like that, then it does give you the option for posing however you want. And it also has an extra gimmick. You can actually use all the effect parts and place all the effect parts around this fan and make it into a giant fan weapon. And this is how it looks. Now this thing is insane. and then the worst part is that I love how this looks. I really love how this weapon looks with all the effect parts on, which is really rare because I usually try to stay away from clear parts and weapons. However, this thing looks so good. Now off for the effect parts of the kit. So the kit itself does bring these effect parts, so you can use them. It has 2 functions. You can use them with or 3 functions actually, because you can use them with the wings, you can use them with the katana, or you can use them with the fan. Now, my only complaint about having clear parts that are interchangeable like that around a kit is that stuff like this happens. I don't know if you guys can see that in the video. You might. It does have a crack. And it's because of how the tension is when you are trying to clip it on and clip it off from a weapon. This actually just happened while I was recording the video. I heard it. You know, you kind of hear when a part goes in and it goes like that little snap sounds a little bit different, and you say, you know what, it's broken. I already know. Well, I already knew as soon as I was recording this and I tried to put that part on the fan, I knew it cracked. So it's just the thing. And it's not the only one. I do have another one here. And I believe this small one is cracked as well. So they do crack. So my recommendation for you, if you are building this kit and you're going to use these effect parts, just set it where you want to set it for the pose and then just leave it alone. Other than that, the clear parts look amazing. The detail is insane. It does look really, really nice. And for those of you that are UV buffs, they are UV reactive. So you get the best of both worlds there. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be the base itself. Now I really have mixed feelings with this actual base. And the reason being that even though it is a nice looking base and it also has some gimmicks because it also has some storage in the base as well. And I do really enjoy that feature for this kit. Now, a good feature about this kit as well is that no matter what pose you are, you don't have to throw away your weapons or put them in a Ziploc bag because it has display for the weapons individually. That's actually really nice. It's a very, very beautiful base. It looks really good and put together when you go ahead and pose the kid on it. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be the backpack. And no, it's not that you cannot count. My backpack actually broke. Yeah, it broke. Where's the piece? It's actually right here. Right here. I am so disappointed and I was so upset, and I said, you know what, I can fix it and then record the video. But I wanted to stay true and be honest about it. This area where the wings are at, all these little, where the feathers are supposed to be, that area is so delicate. And I mean it, because I barely put any force into this so I can put the part back in, and it broke off. And then what happened was that the actual peg is attached to the plastic in the wing by this little tab. It's like a very thin tab of plastic. And if you press it too hard, it like bends it over, and it went ahead and broke. And yes, you do the poses and everything, and yes, you can go ahead and glue it on. But again, this is one of those situations where once I glue this back on, whatever pose it's on, that's it. You know, it's not going to be able to do that. So don't be like me. Be very careful when you're putting on these parts right here. That part is probably the most delicate part of the whole kit. So just make sure that you don't mess with it too hard so it doesn't break. This thing looks really nice. I do wish that they would have added a little bit more feathers to it to give it that little flair, but I think that this looks just fine. With that, you can attach the katana holster either on either side of the wings, whatever you want to do. It'll still look really, really good once attached. You do have your little mechanism here so you can lift it to go ahead and attach your stand to the model kit itself. But look at the details. The amount of details that this has is pretty insane. It looks really nice. All the color separation and everything for this kit is insane. Everything looks really, really good. And it's definitely a candidate for painting. In case you want to paint the kit in a more traditional Tengu colors, this is definitely one of those kits that you could do that. And now for the actual Tengu itself. And you do have your metal joints for the model kit on the, I'm just gonna ignore that. If you see parts fall off, just ignore them. We'll get to them eventually. You'll see all the joints and everything with the model kit itself. They're super solid unless you're trying to put a very, very heavy weapon on it. You do have the Tengu mask, which to me is the highlight of the kit itself, with some metallic decals to go ahead and highlight the helmet. And then you do have your actual hair there. One thing that I do want to mention for this kit, we're going to start with articulation now, and it's the fact that you can only go forward and back when you have that hair, up and down, but you cannot go side to side. Side to side is almost impossible for this kit. That is all you get when you have that hair on, unless you're going to use the normal back piece. Next, we're going to talk about articulations in the arms. So you do have full articulation in your arms. You can go all the way around. You can go up and down. And now, please keep in mind that these joints are going to be super tight because it is an inner frame. So you have to make sure you put a little middle muscle into it. You got your shoulder that comes out, back and forth. The shoulder armor goes up and down. And then you do have full range of motion on your bicep, as well as a double joint for your elbow. You do not have articulated wrists. That's one thing that I wish they would have put on this kit. You just it's like a little snap cap that you just put there. You just put the fist in or whatever hand you want to use, and that's it. So it's a little bit hard to pose without it falling off, depending on how the weight of the weapon. So look out for that. Next, we're going to talk about the actual crunch of the kit. Does the kit have any crunch? It does have just a little bit, not a whole lot. It does have a little bit of side to side, and it does have a little bit to the back if you want to stretch out to the back, but not a whole lot. They just keep falling. The actual waist itself, it'll turn. You can actually go full turn, 360 degree there, if you're very, very careful, without any parts falling off. As you can see, you can just go all the way around. You do have full flexibility when it comes to your skirt, side skirts, and rear skirt. That's actually really nice about this kit. You do have some gimmicks on the front of the skirt where the parts will open for additional display. I do like the fact that they did add a little bit extra detail when it came to this kit, and it's something that you don't see a lot these days when it comes to model kits, unless you're buying a third-party kit. Now for the hips themselves, you do have a full split. You do have full range of movement when it comes to the thigh. and you do have full range of motion when it comes to the hip itself. All you need to do is move the hip up and down, and then you'll get those harder to reach poses. Then for the actual knee itself, you do have a full range of motion for your knee with full mechanical part separation for the knee itself, and it's double jointed. Once you stretch it out, it goes back to where it needs to be. It goes the same for both sides, down to the part that keeps falling off the model. And I'm surprised that this one hasn't fallen yet, because all 4 of them actually fall off. And this is one of the main reasons why I said that you might want to get some like cement or glue, is because these pieces of armors they have like a little peg, right? Let me see if you guys can see it. They have like this little peg there, and they go inside these slots on the side of the knee. However, they're just put there. They don't like clip in there, or you can actually feel them hard clip in there. No, they're just there. So you just basically slide it in and it's just there. Now I'm going to talk about the ankles. So the ankles are really, really nicely articulated, especially for posing. You do not have a lot of movement when it comes to the foot itself, but you do have a lot of movement in the ankle. Overall, I think it is a very, very solid kit, aside from the little gripes that I had while I was building it. Like, for example, while I was posing and displaying here, my wing broke, and then while I was filming this, the clear part cracked, and these things falling off. Those are the only 3 negatives that I have with the kit itself. And that Tengu mask, man, come on, that Tengu mask really does add a lot to the display of this kit. The model is sturdy, it looks really good, it is a very nice display piece. It has a ton of effect parts that make the kit look really, really nice when posing. Be very careful when posing, again, because it does make the wings heavy. The stand is absolutely beautiful, aside from the fact that it really does need a little extra support to handle the whole weight of the kit. Aside from that, everything else is great. Hope you guys like this review. If you like my content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know, did you get this model kit already? How did it end up for you? Have you had any of the same issues that I've had? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you all next time.